Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live conversation with one of our authors and speakers from the Women Thrive Summit. So excited to introduce to you my lovely guest today, who is Coach Carmen Simone. Hi, how are you,
Hello,
Carmen?
hello. And everyone out there in Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you are right now. Greetings.
Where are you joining from, Carmen?
I have the pleasure of living in the state of Maryland in the United States of America, a place where
Amazing.
you can have 3 seasons all in one day.
Much like London, then. Carmen, it was so amazing to actually meet you in person just a few weeks ago, and that
It
time
was
went by
wonderful.
so quickly.
Yes, it did. Too short, but it was good.
Yeah, well, today I we want to have a chat to our audience about a little bit about our story, Carmen's story, and talk about the power of abundant relationships in business and also life. And Carmen has definitely gone through her own fair share of ups and downs and navigating different relationships, which she shared in the latest Women Thrive book, Volume 4. Now, before we begin, I want to give a quick introduction of Carmen. So, Carmen is a certified abundant living coach who helps women and military women veterans and parents of adult daughters develop strategies for living abundantly from the inside out. As a licensed independent clinical social worker, Carmen helps her clients rewire negative thoughts into positive ones and help them engage in healthier behaviors and build more positive relationships. And she helps them change their life stories and create new narratives impacting their relationships with others. Carmen, great to see you here. I'm excited to have this conversation with you today.
I am as well. Thank you again for having me.
Well, first of all, goes without saying, congratulations on becoming a best-selling author in the latest Women Thrive book.
Thank
How are you feeling?
you. That was such a surprise. It happened so quickly. I was like, already? Yeah.
Well, we have been on the journey of actually writing your story for the last 6 months, and I know it kind of happened so quickly in the end. But it certainly wasn't an easy thing for you to begin writing your story. Tell me a little bit about, first of all, what inspired you to share your story? And then, secondly, what was the journey like for you?
Yeah, the inspiration really came from me wanting to be my authentic self for whatever audiences I would have the opportunity to be in front of or connect with. Virtually or in any way. I just felt that it was a time and season in my life that as I continued to work with clients as a coach, that they would be able to know me intimately and that I would be able to share with them based on where their journeys are, aspects of my life, and how I was able to move through those areas and be healed and overcome those adversities of life. And so I particularly wanted to be able to have something tangible that women and maybe men as well would read. I wanted to be able to leave something as a legacy of growth and maturity and overcoming obstacles for my children. I have a son and a daughter that are both adults, and for whoever else in my family. There were a lot of little tips and tidbits that I shared in my chapter that some people in my family already knew and some did not. So it definitely was an eye opener for many.
Amazing. Well, I know it wasn't an easy thing as you've gone through quite a few challenges and lives ups and downs, and to actually be able to write about it in a book. What was some of the harder things or challenges that you faced along the way in having to really pour your heart out into a book?
Yeah, for me, it's much different to write something that is for myself than it is to write something that at some point would have the potential of being available to the world. I could keep my little journal, and as a young girl, I would keep a diary, but that was for me. But to put things on paper and then have it to be in a collective book where anyone in the world could purchase it, definitely was a little frightening initially, because it's kind of like that first time you go virtual and you don't know really who's watching. And I just had to get to a place where I could center myself and block out all of the thoughts about who might read, what people might think, what they might say, and just really allow the inner aspects of my soul to come forth, and be able to share as completely as possible, but in a way that portrayed healing and in a
Mm.
way that portrayed hope, and that would people would see how to thrive through situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, as you say, it's one thing writing for yourself and then another thing writing for others. What was that shift for you that I know you've done the first draft and then we had to go back and kind of do the
Mhm.
editing. What was the moment when it kind of dawned on you, actually this is going to impact
Yeah,
other
it
people?
took a while. It really did. And I think that was because there were still depths, of my personhood, of my spirit, that I had not yet tapped into. I still had some covers over them, some protective barriers. And so the first time was like, okay, I'm just going to share what I think needs to be shared. And then we had some conversation individually with you and then as a group. And you kept pushing us. And I thought, well, why do we have to go that deep? Like, this is good enough. So it took a couple of months for me to accept, um, from a spiritual perspective and from a heart posture, that if I was going to be able to reflect in a healthy way, I had to go as deep as possible. And initially, it was for myself to make sure that those areas were really healed.
Mm.
And I wasn't wearing a mask. I wasn't portraying to be somebody that I'm authentically not. And so I would say it probably took about 3.5 months for me to get to that place where whatever comes up is okay. And we'll deal with it head on if there's any surprises. But
Mm.
there really weren't. I think that through our group coaching, and hearing input from other authors and knowing that we were all kind of at the same place, but then also at different places at different times, it helped to have that community support. I wasn't the only one struggling with some things, and we were struggling for various reasons. But I think for me, because some of the possible concerns of how others may perceive me weren't as broad, because a lot of my family members are no longer living. And so I could pretty easily wipe those out. But I wanted to honor, the lives of those that are still alive, but still speak truth. And so that took a couple of revisions. It took a couple of rewrites. And I think that at the end, the product that was produced was probably one of the best anthology chapters I've ever written. I've done three others, but this one definitely was the best one.
Amazing. Wow, that's just amazing to hear. And it's interesting you say that you had to go to a level of depth in order for you to make sure you're showing up authentically,
Yes.
make sure that you're coming from a place of healed self, because and not hide, right?
Yeah,
We kind of, there is a story that we tell and then there is a real story.
that's right. That's right.
And I think this goes for everyone that starts out in writing their chapters. They tell the story that they think people want to read and want to hear,
Hmm.
and there are layers of sub story behind it. That's the depth, that is the truth,
Absolutely.
that
There's,
we're afraid to speak our truth.
a tool, that, years ago, when I was a social work student, was presented to me, and it's called the Johari window. And so the way of thinking about that is that a window with four panes. So there's four panes in the window. And as you are reflecting on things or moving through life, we have that view that we project that other people see and how we want them to see us. And then there's that one that we don't share with others, how we see ourselves and things we don't want people to know. And then there's that pain of how people see us. And then there's that one of how we think people might see us. And so as I was writing, I experienced all of those. And the most important part was, as you just said, for me to project who I am authentically. I'm not perfect, and I'm still being fine tuned in some areas of my life. But as I have lived a life with various struggles and challenges, I have
Mhm.
also overcome a lot. And that was the end product, to be able to show how, yes, we all have had life experiences, but we're not identified by our experiences. We are identified by who we authentically are.
Yeah, it's so true. And for me, I think the best part of it is not only the healing part for when you do step into your truth and your authentic self. So
Yeah.
that healing and growth happens for you, but then there is a level of depth of connection to the audience because they get to see your true and authentic self.
hmm hmm Yeah, it's kind of like, stages of a play, the different areas, that you go through. You have the first act and then the second act and then, the coup de grace, the end, the grand finale. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel like the Women Thrive Volume 4 book is. It's the grand finale in print of of Carmen.
Yeah.
And it was just so freeing, so liberating. I feel like at this point, there's nothing that I have to hide, no need to hide anything. However people see or perceive me, that's how they see and perceive me, but I know who I am.
Love that. That's amazing. Carmen, it's amazing. So tell us a little bit more about the story that you shared, just a snippet so people can kind of understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'd love to. So mine's is kind of at different phases of my life. So I kind of gave like the early years of my life, the middle years of my life, and kind of like where I am now. And as a child, really into my later adult years, I had a lot of insecurities, a lot of fears. And so the way I showed up primarily was how I thought other people wanted me to. I was showing up primarily for other people, and to be in a relationship and be connected with them. Connection for me is it's always been important from a little child. I really didn't know that that's what it was and what I was desiring. I was raised in a home, at some points by a single mother, and then my father joined us. But I didn't have any siblings in my home. And so being connected to people has always been very important to me. Sometimes you have those things that people say about only children. They're spoiled, they're brats, they get their way all the time. But I always loved socialization and being with other people. And so in that, I experienced some negative things, experienced some abuse, some sexual abuse, and experienced really seeing some not the healthiest examples of relationships, within my own family, and some domestic violence and some various things. And so it skewed my perspective of the real world. It was the world that I knew, and that's how I thought some relationships were supposed to be. That was the environment I was familiar with. And even in some of my extra extended families, there were some things in those families as well. So I just kind of grew up thinking everybody has challenges in their relationship. And for the most part, they're not all that good. And so those were the kind of relationships that I began to be a part of as an adult. And it wasn't until I went into social work school and I shared, my career journey as well, that I began to really look at Carmen and
Mm.
really couldn't hide from myself anymore. I had a very insightful, perceptive professor, much like yourself. And he just would not let me get away with things. I would come in for my advisory, and I think we're going to talk about my classes and other things, and he would just talk about me. I was like, why are we doing this? I want to talk about what's the next thing for next semester. But it helped me. And I could never pay him for that. It helped me to really be a better social worker. I didn't go into social work with this facade. I went in knowing that many of the people that I'm servicing, I'm just as broken as they are. And so I didn't go in projecting things onto to clients, or absorbing things from clients that I possibly could have absorbed if I had not had that coaching from my advisor.
Mm.
And I think he really gave me some counseling along the way as well. So it was very therapeutic when we met. And that's what I wanted to then give back to my clients. So that was the journey that I went into social work, worked with a lot of different types of families. And then it began to open my perspective of the bigger world. I was in an army as well. And so being able to go to different countries and Germany and some other places, I began to see that we're a lot more alike than we are different as individuals and as families. And so I had some life experiences that in some ways balanced out the negative ones, but I
Mm.
still was not yet at a place in my heart where I could establish some really healthy boundaries. And that took quite a while for me to do.
Yeah.
I think that counseling was very necessary for me, and there are various aspects of my life where I sought counseling for myself. Because again, I didn't want to spew out onto others some things that were inside of me. So you'll get a little bit more insight into Carmen and Carmen's journey if you read my chapter, along with the other chapters. But I really am at this point in my life where I want to empower women to own who they are, because it took me a long time to do that.
Yeah.
And to know that a lot of what we don't believe we can do is within us already. We just have to tap into it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, look, I'm just going to remind our audience if they feel inspired, curious, maybe fascinated, grab yourself a volume four Women Thrive book. Carmen's story is, I think, the third one in the book. And it's such a beautiful compilation because it has, I mean, it doesn't seem so short when we write these stories, but it seems so short in a book. And it's beautiful because it allows you to read these stories maybe on your way to work or during your coffee break, or if you're taking a bit of a time out for yourself, and you get to really experience and understand other women's stories of overcoming adversity. And I always say there's so much more that unites us than separates us. And just reading a lot of the stories, there's things that I could relate to every single story in the book.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Carmen, what's beyond the book? Now that it's out, your story is out. I know you want to impact and empower others. What's beyond the book? What's your plans?
Yeah, I really want to continue to speak into the lives of women, individually and groups, and publicly,
Yeah.
and also be able to, even develop some materials that will be of assistance to women. So I'm really taking some time to explore what would be the best types of materials to make available. And then as this year winds down, moving into the following year, continuing to grow my business, which is Inner Healing for Abundant Living. I thought at first, oh, that's a nice catchy phrase, catchy name for business, but it was really about me. I had to be healed inside so that the best of me could come out on the
Yeah.
outside. And
Yeah.
that's really what I want to help women do.
Amazing. That's so amazing, Carmen. I mean, I love your mission, love what you stand for. The work that you've done on yourself is a testimony of just the strength of women and overcoming so many things that we're faced with, and then having that passion commitment to then support others is just really amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's so many things yet that are still going on in our world, and some things are going to get a lot more difficult before they get better, particularly here in the United States of America.
Mm,
But some things have been going on for a long time. There's still, you know, different types of treatment for women in the military, and I definitely have experienced a lot of different things in the military that were unfortunate, that even in the time frame that I was on active duty, but it again has afforded me the insight to know how to communicate to women that are having some of those challenges, whether it's racism, whether it's sexism, whether it's some violence that they have experienced in the military. There's a big group of women, unfortunately, and men that have had some military sexual trauma, and are not very keen on reaching out and seeking help.
mm,
And so I really want, to reach out to those groups of women as well. And parents who have adult daughters. I have been an adult daughter. I have an adult daughter. At some point, she'll have an adult daughter. And so I know how the dynamics of those relationships change as you are a child, a teenager, a young adult. And then even sometimes the tables turn, you become the caretaker of your
mm.
parent or parents. And so I just want to be able to give back as much to the population that I'm a part of, which is women, all around the world.
Yeah, wow, amazing. And how do people connect with you, Carmen?
Yeah, so pretty easily. My name is spelled a little different. So, if you go in a search engine and type in Carmen, Karmin, Reeves Jenkins, my name should pop up. I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. Had a little complication with Facebook, but I'm confident at some point I'll be back there. And looking at some point, maybe even to get on YouTube. So,
Amazing. Carmen, you're also going to be a speaker at the Women Thrive Summit in
it's
2025
coming
this
up.
year.
Next month.
I know our audience will get to meet you, but what can people expect during your talk?
To again share from a different perspective, I very much believe that, and it's been proven scientifically and medically, that there are areas of our brain that we can regenerate, rewire. It's a study and part of medical science called neurogenetics. And so I'll be sharing a little bit about not the scientific aspect, but how having certain type of relationships actually help you to rewire your thoughts and your feelings, and even behaviors for better living, and how being in relationships that are for you, who promote you, who encourage you, who want the best for you, who empower you, can really launch you forward, in life. And so, just kind of sharing how those relationships can really be abundant and how you can be transformed by the relationships that you're connected to.
Yeah, amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. I know our summit is going to be really impactful, knowing who we have lining up the summit this year.
Dynamic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, once again, congratulations on becoming a bestseller in all the categories for this incredible book and sharing your story with the world. If our audience have not got a copy yet, make sure you grab yourself a copy of the volume 4 of Women to Our
Yeah,
book.
it's very
And
affordable.
yeah, it's only a few dollars. Go ahead and grab yourself a copy and leave a review as well.
Yes.
Carmen, super thrilled to have you on the summit this year as well. And we look forward to
Thank you.
connecting with you again.
Absolutely. If anyone wants to reach out, I have a website. It's www.iah4al.com. Stands
Amazing.
for Inner Healing for Abundant Living.
Amazing. Look forward to having you on our stage again. And to all of us,
Or,
all of our audience watching this right now, if you have enjoyed this, do make sure you share it with your social media followers and connect with Carmen. Look forward to
yeah.
seeing you again very soon. Again. Bye bye.
Bye bye.